Mega Man Battle Network 3 was one of the best games I've played for this channel. Great boss design, a story that actually made me tear up, and a post-game that only committed one war crime. So naturally, I looked at what came next. Battle Network 4, widely considered the worst game in the series, requiring a minimum of 3 playthroughs to just complete the chip library. 6 if you want both versions done. We're doing all 6, without taking damage, and 100% completing both. I've decided not to think about that last part too hard. Before the rules, 2 quick notes. I am running the retranslation mod because the original BN4 script isn't just rough translation, it's did anyone read this before it shipped. The mod fixes it, so we're gonna use it. Second, the 1 HP lock from BN3 isn't happening here. Something in BN4's memory handling just doesn't cooperate with the same method, and I spent way longer than I'm willing to admit trying to figure it out. So instead, rule 1, no damage. If Mega Man gets hit, we're going back to the last checkpoint, and I'm defining those as the end of each story section. No cherry picking the resets, and no convenient saves mid-dungeon. We mess up, we're gonna just redo it. Rule 2, no save scumming. Every single mistake I make, I'll just live with it. And rule 3, no chip trading this time around until the end of run 3. The Plant Man folder in BN3 broke the game, so we're gonna stay honest with what Red Sun gives us. The game opens with scientists spotting a meteor on a collision course with Earth. Mass extinction event, the whole thing. Meanwhile, Lan and Mega Man do the tutorial, as is tradition, of course. We nod along politely, as always. Afterwards, Dad sends us onto the net to find a part for him, which is our first real taste of BN4's combat. And look, I want to be fair here, but the combat is just worse. The pace is noticeably slower than BN3, the enemy variety in these early sections feels thin, and even Mega Man's new sprite redesign just isn't doing it for me. After the crisp, satisfying weight of BN3, this feels like going back to a slightly older car and realizing just all the little things you'd stop noticing. Which would be fine, except I still can't get hit. Slower combat doesn't mean safer combat, it just means I have more time to stand there and think about how bad it would feel to be clipped by a Met. After the net section, we have dinner and then head out shopping with Dad. Dex is inexplicably back in AC/DC Town despite him moving away in BN3, which the game doesn't explain at all, and I refuse to question. We catch up with Yai and Mail, and things start to feel almost normal until Dad gets called into work. This man right here. 3 games, and he has never once been home when we needed him. BN4 doesn't even try to hide it, he's just gone again. Dr. Hikari, Phantom of the Household. You know what? I hope the meteor does hit the planet. I hope it strikes Scilab specifically. So what's the actual structure of BN4? Well, I'm glad you asked, random viewer named James. Remember how BN3 spent a chunk of the time building up to the N1 Grand Prix as this big event? BN4 looked at that and said, what if the whole game was that? Tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament. Prelims, brackets, the works. That's all it is. And we'll get to whether that's a good idea or not. But first, we have a vampire problem. On the way to the tournament prelims, we run into Shade Man. He's a Navi who canonically eats other Navis. I have so many questions, but none of them really matter right now because he kidnaps Roll. And we have to spend the next little bit chasing him through the net. Once we do finally catch up to him and Roll, turns out we can't even get into the dungeon because he can fly over there and we can't because some bozo decided, hey, why would we need a bridge here? So back in the real world, Shade Man hits us with some sonic waves that are just loud enough to block our path entirely until we track down a pair of headphones. So we go get those headphones. One thing I actually do want to call out here though, and I'll give BN4 credit where it's due, during these sections where a Navi's like, oh hey, let's fight. Unlike in the previous games where they would say that and then you just fight a bunch of viruses, we're fighting actual Navis. Like real enemies with movesets and chips and everything. They're generic, yes, but after 3 games of here's a Met and 2 cannons, it makes the fights feel more memorable. We also swing by Higsby's shop, which now has a new helper named Nanako. We use the chip trader since it's open to us, and I wasn't chasing anything in particular this time, but I did pick up a few new Vulcan chips, which I'll later realize just how strong they actually are. The first dungeon has us hunting bats scattered around an area, which would be a fine little scavenger hunt, except BN4's random encounter rate clearly didn't get the memo that I'm trying not to get hit. Every 3 steps, it's another fight. Go find a bat, fight. Walk back, fight. Take a wrong turn, fight. The dungeon isn't hard, it's just determined to waste my time. And on a no damage run, more fights always means more chances for something stupid to happen. Shade Man is the boss at the end, and we can't beat him because he's built different. At least Proto Man shows up and chases him off, so Roll is safe, and Shade Man drops something on the way out, which we'll pick up of course. This is a dark chip. Very spoopy name. A dark ship is a special kind of ship, as Higsby explains, that grants Navis extra power at the cost of their soul. At first, Navis might use them to gain an edge, but over time they can start craving more and more of that power, and MegaMan tells us he's totally fine though. We also get our first real look at what's happening on the Meteor side of the story. Dad's there over at NAXA headquarters and helps them out, along with a scientist named Dr. Regal, who I'm convinced is the villain the moment he opens his mouth. Their plan is to build a big-ass laser and blast the meteor before it hits. Cool, we'll check back on that later. We are able to finally head to the tournament now, and we register under LAN. Yes, I know, I have no creativity. The prelim quests are straightforward enough though. Talk to some people, run some errands, check some boxes, nothing that's gonna affect our no damage run. The brackets for these tournaments are all randomized, every single run. The one fixed match being Gutsman on our first playthrough, because of course we always need to fight Gutsman early on. But everything else is random, and this matters for 100% because certain opponents carry certain rewards, and if the bracket doesn't cooperate, you can get locked out of certain things and be forced into a fourth run. So we're kinda at the mercy of RNG. First bracket, we drew the Tetsu mission. Probably the worst possible opening. We get cornered by a group of thugs, which without saying too much leads to 9 back-to-back battles. The last 3 of which are 3 Navis simultaneously. But we win, obviously, don't worry about it. I also spent 2,000 Zenny on something called a board part, which I have no idea what it does, but I farmed for it and that got us the Net Battle Extraordinaire achievement. While doing these fights, I also ended up doing the Life Sword Advance and got a chip's true value. And I need to mention this, but they finally made the chip advance screen move really fast, and I have to say that's one of the best quality of life changes ever. Point to BN4, I guess. Since we did Tetsu's quest, he ends up as our first tournament match. He runs a nice generic Navi without much going on, which after 9 straight fights feels like the game's offering me an apology. The fight is very easy, but I do want to mention these fight start animations. They are really cool. Every match opens with this dramatic little sequence that makes even the pushover fights feel like they kinda matter. Small thing, but I like it. Activate the Invis! Fuck you! Round 2 was supposed to be Dex, but right before the match, Dex's little brother Chisao gets kidnapped. We spend quite a bit of time following clues, running back and forth, doing what is ultimately a glorified fetch quest. We find Chisao and head back to the tournament grounds and start round 2. And Gutsman actually impressed me. I've been saying Gutsman is easy for 3 games in a row, but now in BN4 they decided that was enough of that. He has some new moves. He shoots, he drops things on you, he actually made me think. And it's a good fight. Goodbye. And when it ends, we unlock what might be the single most interesting thing Battle Network 4 does, the soul system. Style change is gone. In its place, when we defeat a major opponent, we absorb a piece of their data and gain access to a soul, a temporary transformation that inherits abilities from whoever we just beat. Gut Soul being our first, and it's strong right out the gate. It adds 30 flat damage to every non-elemental chip we use, and remember those Vulcan chips I mentioned earlier? Under Gut Soul, Vulcan hits for 40 damage 3 times and staggers bosses. That's 120 damage on a chip that already has excellent coverage. The V2 version hits 5 times. I'm not doing the math out loud here, but you can feel what that means for everything that gets in front of us. So I restructure the folder around it, of course. Panel breaking chips were required to transform into Guts form, so we maxed out on those, and then of course Vulcan to exploit it. Guts Soul is going to be holding everything together for a while. If I was playing the blue version of BN4, we would get the Aqua Soul, which let's just say it's just not Guts Soul. In fact, it's terrible. So I'm glad to be playing Red Sun. With that out of the way, let's take on round 3 of this tourney. There's an old man who built Top Man himself so he could connect with his grandson. We spend a bunch of time helping him out repair Top Man by getting help from his fellow old people and even his own brother, but eventually after all the runaround, we can actually fight this old geezer. The fight is where I gotta give BN4 its flowers. Top Man is tougher than Guts Man. He throws tops at you, he turns into one, and the area punishes you for losing track of positioning. Even with Guts Soul doing the heavy lifting, I had to be deliberate. The Soul's damage bonus helped a lot with the numbers, and the stagger kept him from going too crazy, but this was the first major fight in BN4 where I felt like the game was designed really well. I enjoyed this whole lot. In fact, I'd put this up there with some of my favorite bosses in the series. Thunder Man, Metal Man, now Top Man. The fight gets wrapped up with the old guy's family coming in and him finally getting to connect with his grandson. It's a nice moment, I won't lie. Not BN3 nice, but nice. It also earns us the Youthful Pride achievement. Before the next tournament though, the game gives us some nice story. We spend a bit of time with Mail and Roll and they convince us to fight for free passes to a new amusement park. And then after 3 games of will they won't they, Mail finally works up the courage to ask Lan on a date. I looked ahead in the lore by the way, and they get married 20 years after BN6. Good on them. They deserve it. Then our house alarm goes off. We run home and Mom is tied up. Someone wants us to bring the dark chip to Park Area 2 or else. Lan is cursed. I've said it before and I'll say it again. This kid cannot have a single normal afternoon. We break into the new park by beating up an innocent worker, and getting an S rank here unlocks the No Surprises Here achievement, which I'm a little shocked it took this long. While we're here, we do pick up the jet part from an NPC similar to the part we grabbed earlier, and I still have no idea what they do. The enemies in the park don't worry me too much on a no damage run, except the AirHock viruses. I have always been bad at dodging attacks that bounce around the field, and my usual solution is to just delete whatever is throwing them at me before it becomes a problem, but with our current folder, that's a bit tricky. Luckily, this is a problem that's about to solve itself. We beat up the guy who wanted the dark chip and get our first real look at the organization behind all of this. Nebula, the Dark Chip Syndicate. Apparently, these guys existed during PN 1 to 3, but just kinda didn't do anything because World 3 and Gospel were front and center. Right on cue, Dad calls us and gives us the Navicust back. Same deal as in BN3. It seems mostly unchanged, so there isn't a whole lot to say, but the attack and speed boosts are very welcome. Attack boost alone brings our charge shot up to 20 damage, which is minor on paper, but really handy in practice. Then we check in at Higsby's and the Number Man lottery is back. In BN3, the rewards were kinda mid, but here, we eat. AirHock 3 is going straight into the endgame folder, and on top of that, we get 2 chips that are really cool references to other series. Gun del Sol does insane damage across 2 entire rows almost instantly, and then there's the Z Saber Z. If you've been on the channel, you know Zero's my favorite MegaMan character, specifically the version from the Zero games. So when I saw that this chip existed, I'm not gonna pretend I reacted calmly. It makes the Z Saber sound when you swing it. What more could I ask for? We also grabbed the Custom 2 Navicust program, which is going on immediately. That one doesn't even need discussion. Extra chips are always good. So the date. Lan and Mail finally make it to the amusement park and say it with me, everything goes wrong. I blame Lan. He's been cursed since birth. All the rides are broken, so we fix them by beating up some shrimp. As you do, and for one brief shining moment, Lan and Mail actually get to enjoy a peaceful afternoon together. And then the park robots start to rampage. The dungeon structure here is 4 sections back to back, each one asking us to collect certain things and bring them to progress, similar to the zoo section in BN3. BN4 is doing something that's interesting here, and I simply could not care less because it feels worse than what BN3 did. Viruses are still the same old ones we've been dealing with all game. I understand the whole design philosophy of BN4 is that you're supposed to replay it multiple times for the enemies to scale up, but we're still on run 1, and this is already getting old. We do, however, get our 12th megabyte for the folder, which means just like always, Invis is going to go in as our starting chip. It doesn't feel like it lasts quite as long as it used to, but on a no damage run, having a touch of untouchability at the start of a fight is never a bad thing. Shockingly, not even a little bit, Shade Man is behind all of this. He starts telling MegaMan that deep down he is too evil and should join Nebula. We break the dark chip in his face and a fight ensues. Can you guess what I'm gonna say? We can't beat him. He just eats our hits exactly like the first time until we have dark chips now. So we grab 2 of them, hit Shade Man with a 500 damage sword, and that's finally enough to take him down. He dies harder than any other Navi in the series. I couldn't tell you if he turned to stone or got his data paper shredded, but either way, job well done. Shad shows up and is like, you didn't use a dark chip, right, Lan? Because if you did, I'd have to kill you. Cool, great, thanks for that, Shad. Why are you so small, by the way? Time skip to Tournament 2. Prelims this time just asked us to collect 50 points scattered around the game. I collected all 66, don't judge me. None of this involves anything new, so the no damage run is still fine. It definitely won't stay that way though. Our first mission and match this tournament is against a guy named Flave. He's a chef, he makes curry so good that a man's soul literally leaves his body. When Lan says it isn't as good as his mom's though, Flave takes that personally and challenges us to a cooking competition. So we jack into the net, learn to cook from the cooking master, which is a sentence I get to say because this is a MegaMan game. And when we finally face Flave in the competition, we make the judge see his dead wife, and that wins us the round. The fight goes about the same. He is a generic Navi, so he doesn't hit hard, but the viruses he summons are a different kind of problem. Some of them block our vision, some lock our movements entirely, and some make him temporarily invincible. None of that is really all that dangerous in a normal run, but when we have to not take damage, having our controls locked while the boss shoots at us is the thing that ends a run on a fight we had no business losing to. We get through it after a few attempts, but this was a reminder that generic Navi doesn't really mean free. Second match ends up being against Mail and Roll, which I did not see coming, and then Roll gets kidnapped, which I absolutely did see coming. This was a very fast section. We chase her down, kick her stalker's ass, and that's all she wrote. The fight with her is very easy, and honestly, we win pretty handily. This also gets us our second soul, the Roll Soul. For PvP, this thing is completely broken. For this run, it's a healing-based soul, and we can't heal, so into the filing cabinet it goes next to every other thing that would make this game a lot easier if I were allowed to use it. Third round of the tournament is against Atsuki and Burnman. Then my least favorite person shows up looking like he's cleaned up his life. Match, I still hate you. I don't understand how this man isn't in jail, but okay. Atsuki and Match end up in an argument that escalates into a net battle that was supposed to be harmless but sets the entire net on fire because of course it does. Rant time. This was the single worst section of the game so far, and if I have to ever put out another fire in this series, it'll be too soon. The way this works is we spray water at fires to put them out. In AC/DC, it's 3 or 4 flames, fine, manageable, we move on. Then we get to the park area, all 3 of them. Each fire has 6 or 7 flames, and here's the part that matters for this run. If there are 7 flames and we don't perfectly spray the fire, we take damage. I have to clear park area 1, 2, and 3 back to back, all while a single mistimed water shot sends us back to the start. And I'm not a coordinated person. Getting perfects every single time on every one of these was a nightmare. This section made me angry in a way this game had not managed to yet. Moving on before my blood pressure rises again. After telling Match he's a loser and Atsuki needs to think before he acts, we finally get our tournament match, and I enjoyed it. Burnman has matches that slide up the top and the bottom of the field and stop when they're blocked. If you don't, they stop right above or below you and light you up. Managing the matches while also dealing with Burnman himself makes for a really engaging fight, and it also gets us the Fire Fought achievement, which feels very earned after what I just went through with those stupid fires. When Atsuki loses, bro has a complete meltdown and tries to burn the entire castle we're in. There's people in here, bud. After Dumbass sets himself on fire, we get a call from Nebula telling us to jack into the net terminal or the castle comes down. Jacking in gets us net adventure for jacking in 100 times, which is a nice consolation prize for being threatened, I guess. We come face to face with Laserman, and then Gutsman shows up to back us up, which is a welcome surprise, but then Laserman does something I didn't expect. He pulls the dark energy out of MegaMan and shoves it straight into Gutsman, and now we have to fight our friend. This is another solid boss fight. Gutsman keeps his regular moveset and gets to actually use battle chips on top of it, including Invis, which I did not see coming. Luckily for us, it is still Gutsman, so it can't be too bad. Do you actually only have 1 health? That's crazy. After winning, Laserman retreats with a parting, "You'll join us eventually." Back at Naxa, the laser is ready. The scientists are about to blast the meteor, and some person on the team quietly turns the power down right before they fire. So the plan collapses. Everyone panics, and Dr. Regal, who I maintain is the villain and will continue maintaining until proven otherwise, steps forward and says he can fix it. He just needs a really good net battler. Lan Hikari, resident 11-year-old world savior 3 times over, called up again. So we asked Mom if we can go to Netopia unsupervised, and she says yes. She really said yes. This woman who watched us get robbed in Netopia multiple times in BN2 has apparently decided that that's just a Netopia thing. We'll probably be fine. We will not be fine. We land in Netopia and almost immediately get beaten over the head and kidnapped. I feel like our mom is as irresponsible as our dad is busy. And between the two of them, I'm amazed that Lan made it to 11 years old. Getting out means jacking MegaMan into the Netopia net and collecting 4 codes to open the door. We finally have some new enemies here, which is a relief at this point. Most of them are fine, the magnet ones are less fine. They don't do much except pull you in, but when they pull you in, you can be hit by everything, which on a no damage run means you're already in the wrong spot before you can even react. But we're completely fine, nothing kills us. Okay, maybe once.
Hello there.
We get the 4 codes, the door opens, we turn around, and the kidnapper's just standing there. And they tell us it was all a joke, haha, get it? Good times. They decided they had to make sure that we were good enough for the tournament. You hit a child with something heavy and locked him in a room. That's the bar we're setting? That's how Netopia decides if you're Coliseum material. I'd like to speak to whoever approved that decision. I have some follow-up questions. And probably a police report to file. We head off to the Coliseum to get our bracket pairings, which requires us to put our hand in this hole in the wall, which is actually based on the real-life mouth of truth, where legends say if you lied with your hand inside, it would bite it off. See? Your boy knows some stuff. Luckily for us, Lan isn't lying about being a participant in the tournament, so his hand stays attached and we get our first matchup. Coldman and his operator, Chilsky. That might be the stupidest MegaMan name I've ever heard. Chilsky is too warm in Netopia, so he moves the satellite that regulates his home city's temperature and redirects the blizzard here. Before we deal with him though, those parts I've been picking up all run without knowing what they were, we grab the last one. We hand them over to this little yellow navvy and get the Sea Slider. This lets us access those thin pathways we've been walking past the entire game. I won't lie, I actually kind of like it. To stop the blizzard, we need 4 chips and we need to push through the satellites fighting off constant battles the whole way. None of these fights threaten the run, all of them are the same. The same enemies, the same patterns, the same exchanges we've seen 100 times already. I fell asleep writing the notes for this section and I will not apologize. This shit is boring. Once we fix the weather, we can fight Coldman. His game plan is to lock down your panels, spread ice across the field, and then just sit back and throw shit at you while you run out of room. This was a lot more demanding than it looked at first because the shrinking space we can stand on and the projectile timing stack in the most annoying ways. This was the first fight I actually struggled with up till this point, and we died a total of 13 times. 13 deaths to this man. Our next matchup is against Paulie, who invites us to his village in Netopia to see their water festival. We agree because why not? Netopia opening up is the real win here because it means we can finally start grinding. Here's how that works. I use an unlocker chip to open green mystery data scattered around Netopia, jack out, restock, and repeat. By the end of it, we're sitting around 400,000 zenny, and that is enough to buy anything that matters from the shops on playthrough 1. The main purchase though is Super Vulcan from Higsby. Same concept as the regular Vulcan chips, except this one fires 12 times. Pair that with some attack chips and that number gets kinda silly. And for the bosses coming up, silly is exactly what we need. The festival itself is a good time. We join, we win, and then Paulie's gone, and so's all the water in the village because someone put viruses in it. Of course they did. Lan to the rescue, as always, as it will always be until the end of time. The Water God dungeon is a big maze-like area, and there is a full cuz chip here that I completely missed and didn't realize until post-game. So, oops. We clear out the viruses, the water comes back, and we head to the tournament where Paulie tells us he hates us now. So we kick his ass. He's running a generic Navi, and unlike Flave's fight, there's no annoying viruses that we have to deal with. Paulie's just kinda easy. After losing, he gets exiled from his village, but Lan says, hey, maybe don't do that, and they don't do it. 3 games in, and Lan's most broken ability is just talking to people. Match 3 is against Raul from BN2, and this is where I failed the run. I want to be clear that there was nothing I could do for this. On the way to the fight, an old man curses MegaMan, which causes his HP to slowly drain over time. Under my rules of no taking damage, no exceptions, this counts. That's a failed run. We could restart the entire game and hope the randomized bracket doesn't give us Raul again, or we don't do that and you just look the other way because the game wasn't worth playing this far into. We make our way slowly and sadly across the net, and with Thunderman's help, we get the curse lifted. It was a massive kick in the balls to just have it all end like that, but like like I said, different bracket and this would be fine. But at the same time, we have to do this to get an achievement. So I guess the answer is no. We can't 100% Battle Network 4 without taking damage, but we could beat it. Thunderman is just as fun as he was in BN2, maybe even better. The fight is mostly the same, except now there's one thundercloud instead of 3, which makes the whole thing feel even more enjoyable. I forgot to update the attempt counter for this one, but if I remember right, it was like 3 attempts. Kind of a palate cleanser after everything that just happened. Winning the tournament gets land picked up by Naxa and taken to their main headquarters to see Dad and Dr. Regal. And here's where the story actually picks up. The asteroid is man-made. Someone built it. I believe this follows a similar structure to how Duo's arc played out in the classic MegaMan timeline, though I haven't played much of those, so I can't say for certain. What I can say is that Dr. Regal is standing here looking smug, and I have trusted him approximately 0% since we met him. We get tasked with reconnecting all the net areas around Netopia before we can reach the asteroid, and the enemies are still the same ones we've been fighting all game, so damageless isn't a concern. We get it done. Then we head for the Undernet for the first time in BN4, and wow, is this place ugly. I think this might be my least favorite Undernet in the series. The background physically hurts my eyes to look at. We track down the Navi behind everything, beat him thoroughly, and he tries to blow us up on the way out, which as it turns out was exactly what Dr. Regal was hoping would happen. Told you, evil. Day 1 I called it. MegaMan gets saved by Glide, Gutsman, and Roll stepping in, which is a nice moment. Then we head back to Naxa, and surprise, surprise, Regal was behind everything and is the head of Nebula. Dad had already figured that out before anyone else, which tracks. I mean, the guy's never home, but he is the son of Dr. Light. Guess it's time to head for the asteroid for us. The final dungeon music is fantastic. Battle Network has never missed with these final area themes, and BN4 is no exception. The background is also one of my favorites in the series too. Space just looks really cool as a dungeon backdrop. The dungeon mechanic here is simple. We step on numbered platforms in order to open a portal to the next section, and we have to step on them in order. I actually like this one. It works. The enemies in here did make me a little nervous at first, but we got through without any major mistakes. Then we reach Laserman. After all his posturing through the game, I expected a hard fight. He didn't really deliver though. At this point, we have Super Vulcan, AirHock 3, and enough half-decent chips to tear through most things pretty quickly. And Laserman unfortunately falls into the category of most things. About 4 attempts and it was done. Honestly, a bit forgettable for a final dungeon boss. I swapped the chip setup before actually heading to the final encounter because what comes next is different. Inside the final area, we fight 2 bosses. First is Dark MegaMan, a copy of us that mirrors our chips and our HP bar. He does a few things that forced resets, including pulling out Gundel Soul on my invisible ass, which, fair play, I didn't see it coming. But on the next attempt, we cut him down to size, and that's all she wrote for our dark half. Duo, on the other hand, Duo is the hardest final boss in the series. I don't know how this could get any harder. He ignores the mole chips entirely with some of his attacks. I didn't bring geyser chips, which would have helped enormously, and I only figured that out after the fact. And this fight took a whopping 47 attempts. I'm pretty sure that's more than BN1, BN2, and BN3 combined. At some point, I genuinely thought maybe I should just let Duo destroy the planet. He clearly wants this more than I do. He's earned it. He treated me the same way I've treated every boss in the series, and I have never felt more humbled. Duo didn't just beat me. He uninstalled my self-esteem, 3D printed a tiny version of me, set it on fire, and forced my penguin to live stream the funeral to my grandmother. I am currently typing this from inside my own refrigerator because Duo now occupies my living room, and I am too afraid to make noise. When we finally take him down, MegaMan saves the world with the power of friendship, and Dr. Regal actually helps us in the end. You know what, bro? I still hate you, but I hate you less than match. From here, the game needs 2 more complete runs for everything, and rather than walk through all of it again, here are the Cliff's Notes. Electman was the biggest annoyance across the follow-up runs. Annoying ass boss. Though at least he had the fastest story section in the game. In other playthroughs on both this version and the blue version, Protoman and Searchman had by far the worst story sections. Way too much time spent in the Undernet. Way too much. During the extra playthroughs, we do earn all of these achievements though, and with the chip trading restriction lifted at the end of run 3, I finally put together a complete endgame folder, and I will say, they really toned down the chips for BN4 compared to Plantman and Gator from the previous games. This folder felt almost fair. Not a single program advance I could use to completely break the game, but we do get to abuse the AirHock 3 chips, and they carry these endgame sections. For the post-game, we head into the Undernet, collect all the evil programs scattered through it, and eventually reach Dark Earth. Here we fight corrupted versions of Navis from across the game, and they are noticeably harder than their regular counterparts, but still pretty samey. Nothing above 5 attempts on the high end. At the very end, we fight our dark self again, and like the first time, it wasn't a massive problem. Except this version moves faster than Sonic the Hedgehog on crack and ended my life 4 times before we sorted that out. And then, as is tradition in every Battle Network game, base. Base this time was actually a problem. There's no clean way to lock him down with this folder that we have, which means I have to rely on actual skill rather than just being overpowered. The skill in this case is that I'm really good at air hockey. With every enemy in the game accounted for, we can refight Duo, except this time he's very shiny and has 1500 more HP. Surprisingly, unlike the first encounter, I was prepared. 7 attempts and it was done. I also discovered, embarrassingly late, just how good the Thunderman Soul actually is. I knew it stunned enemies, but I had no idea it stunned for that long on a charge shot. Long enough to fully unload a Super Vulcan. Long enough to throw geysers. If I'd figured that out during the first Duo fight, I'm convinced this would have taken significantly less time. With Duo down, we finish the last bits of blue version, get that beautiful complete badge on the Legacy Collection select screen, and that's everything. BN4 is not as bad as people say. Okay, it's pretty terrible, but the soul system is great. The boss fights range from good to excellent. The structure, though, is really repetitive by design, and that repetition wears on you so bad, especially on a no damage run where every extra fight is a fresh opportunity for something to go wrong. But we did it. We got every chip, every achievement, every boss damageless, if you forget about the Thunderman section. While the run wasn't nearly as bad as I was told, I'm still gonna give this a 3 out of 5 on the challenge run difficulty scale, just because of how tedious and bored I got during the middle of it. Not to mention the fight with Duo actually drove me to insanity, so 3 out of 5 it is. But with that, MegaMan Battle Network 4 is mission complete. We recently hit 10k subs, so I just want to give a huge thanks to all of you guys who have bothered hitting that button. I know it's sappy, but I never thought I'd come this far. Here's to 20k and maybe even 100k one day, so I can finally hear my parents say they're proud of me, and I hope to see you in more challenge runs in the future, even if they aren't MegaMan. If you enjoyed this video, a like and a sub genuinely help more than you think, and if you've got opinions on what I should put myself through next, drop them below. I do love replying to your comments. Special thanks to Banjo, Anima, and Yo on Ko-Fi for keeping me motivated and my belly full of food, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.